Hello and welcome to Back to the Boardroom. I'm Greer.
And I'm James.
And this week we're talking all things chocolate and coming up with the candidates' own Easter eggs. And maybe later in the show we might come up with our own. How did you feel the task went this week?
Well, I like chocolate, so I was immediately attracted is the wrong word. I liked the task.
I also really like chocolate. I do think if someone tells me that they aren't a chocolate fan, I immediately distrust them. So sorry if you're listening and you're one of those people that are like, oh, I just don't really eat chocolate. But come on, I don't trust you. That's a weird quirk.
Yeah, definitely. Two things I'm going to say. There can be too much chocolate. You can have too much.
Okay.
And I feel like as I grow older, my appreciation for dark chocolate has greatly risen.
That's a very middle-aged thing to say.
Random facts to start the show that no one cared about.
Well, now they know if anyone wants to send in any chocolate. Last year we had all pie chat, so we're bringing some culinary information back this year. James, do you want to just update us? We've talked about chocolate. Do you want to update us on what specifically the task was this week?
Yes, so this week the candidates had to make their own Easter egg, and then so obviously the Easter egg itself, the flavors, the shape, but then also the brand packaging and a promotional video to go with it to pitch to some supermarkets. Well, at least I saw Waitrose, Asda, Tesco, Amazon Grocery and John Lewis.
So not all of the big supermarkets, but there was a decent amount of them there, I think. And it's always going to be a good task when there's a video element to it as well. So I was pleased. We get good flavour picking because that's always one that can go wrong, packaging and logos and a video. So I was looking forward to it this week.
Yeah, and if I may kick off with one of my favourite moments. Well,
please do.
I don't know, a highlight rather than a favourite moment. There was a lot of poo talk.
That's what I thought. I've got that written down too.
I had on Ascendancy, I had no dark chocolate, otherwise it looks like a turd. We had don't want our egg to look like a bogey. And on Parallel, we had Johnny going, we don't want it looking like poo.
I feel like, this is going to sound weird, but I feel like Johnny has said the word poo, which is, I think, probably the worst word in the world for me to say. He said that 2 weeks in a row. Like, if he's saying that on camera and they've edited that, like, you know, there's a whole amount of footage, but they've kept in 2 poos. How many other times is he talking about it off camera or in footage that they've dropped?
Exactly. I have a feeling that this was set up a bit. I think green and brown were definitely directed. I mean, obviously brown is chocolate, so
yeah, we won't forget that.
It's obvious, but the green as well was kind of heavily influenced maybe by the production team to get these contrasting colours that look less appealing.
Yes, now we know the secrets from last week's episode where they're given sort of a couple of choices and then they have to use the colours provided and things like that. I did think at the beginning when they were discussing what type of Easter egg they could create, it was really obvious, now we know that they were given both luxury and kids because they were the only 2 options. But I agree with you. Do you also think that the purple colour that looks like Cadbury's was also put on the list for them to choose as a little bit of a red herring?
I think so, because when you saw the designer shot, I think there was a colour palette and I think it was a lot of bluey purples. That's
interesting. See, yeah. It pays to watch that closely.
Eye for the detail, as you know.
Exactly. I'm glad you kicked off with some of the less appetising words from this episode. One of the things I wanted to bring up is the terrible video that they created. I'm sure we'll talk about Ed in a bit.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about what was that purple background luxury man in a suit, like Love Actually, holding those signs up, going through them, and they spelt unique wrong in one of them. Doesn't scream luxury, sounds like they had a phone in a stationery cupboard and that's all they could make.
Exactly. It was a bit weird. No narration, just some stock music. And do you know what actually annoyed me most about the video? One of the cards, the text was definitely not centered. It really got me.
I hate that. That's the worst. But I did think it reminded me of like a cringy video, just because he was stood there in his suit as well, and it was all hand drawn. And I just thought it reminds me of something that perhaps a local MP or a councillor would do on social media to sort of promote to the local residents how many potholes they had filled that month or something. It just seemed really shoestring budget, something filmed in the town hall. So yeah, really not luxury, but it was a good moment for us to watch.
Yeah, definitely not too impressed with that. However, I was actually impressed with something, and I don't actually compliment Lord Sugar a lot at all, actually. But today I'm going to.
Okay.
Because I thought some of his lines and jokes were actually quite funny. I actually laughed.
Okay.
Some highlights for you. Covered in rocks in a terrible box. I like that. And he was, just him like wanting to eat more and more of the egg was just quite funny.
Yes.
And showed a softer side to him. And like when he was doing that, he was like, "Oh, just had a crater fall on me."
He was on form.
Yeah, I credit where credit's due. It was funny. Thanks, Alan.
He was funny this week. And I can't believe you've missed off the one joke that it really made me laugh. Okay, the first one where he said the green sort of cylindrical egg, if that's what we can call it, looked like something you'd put a loo brush in. Funny. But the joke that made me laugh is when he said, "Do you know what this reminds me of? Coronavirus." I think we need to compare more things in life to looking like coronavirus. That was great.
Yeah. He did a good job.
He did.
Well done.
Well done, Alan. Pat on the back. Sorry, Lord Sugar. He won't like that. Somebody who I just, I don't know what he was thinking, is obviously Dr. Jana. He got really into, I don't know if he just forgot about the Easter Bunny's existence. I think possibly, because he was really into like, okay, the kids' idea. How can we connect with children over a holiday, Father Christmas? And so he got really stuck on trying to create a character and an egg and have it be a reward and sort of pump morals and ethics into Easter. And no one mentioned Easter Bunny for ages. But I'm going to be honest, I even forgot about the Easter Bunny until they came up and said about it. There was a line that was like, for Easter, we don't really have a main character. And in my head, I thought, yeah, we do. Jesus. And that's not even relevant to me. He's not someone I'm interested in. But I forgot about the Easter Bunny. So I feel like maybe Dr. Jana did as well.
Yeah, it was, to be fair, I didn't click immediately.
We're just so old now.
I was so focused on Easter Ed.
I know, Easter Ed. Is that a pun? That's just weird. That's just an odd. How can we change the word egg? Oh, let's Ed. Okay.
It's better than Johnny's jams.
I really don't want to eat any of Johnny's jams. Yeah, Easter Ed was weird. What did you make of the whole like space theme? And then they were talking about making like an animal egg as well. That didn't seem to fit.
Yeah, you could have like a space bunny or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the space theme had potential, but as someone else said, good idea, bad execution. The idea of the I liked the idea of the orange, what would you call it? Like rings around the planet?
Like Saturn, yeah.
It just didn't look very good.
It didn't. It looked very messy. And even the children in our favourite ever thing, a children's focus group, because they're so brutal, Yeah, there was one boy that wasn't having any of it with that design.
I don't like the look of the egg because it is not even.
Exactly like what you said about the text on the boards being held up. He'd do well on our podcast with all the detail,
exactly.
I think.
That kid is going far.
I thought the whole idea to do a matcha egg was quite smart. There is a flavour that people love and are wanting to see in more things at the moment. It's not a flavour that I really enjoy, but I found it a weird one. There was a lot of discussion around, you haven't put enough matcha in it, when it's really strong and overbearing, and you probably don't really want that 100% to be the flavour in the egg. So I thought they did all right, but the actual egg, if we could call it that, looked like some sort of tacky decor. It looked like something you might order from, I don't know, AliExpress or something. It's just a bit weird.
Yeah, definitely. It looked worse in the box, I think, than when we saw it in the kitchen, because it seemed to have a drizzle over it in the kitchen as well as the foil.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any drizzle when Lord Sugar got it out of the box.
That's true. Or someone broke it. It was quite a breakable egg.
My final 3 highlights. I know 3. I'm stretching the boat here, but again, unfortunately, they are all aimed at Team Parallel.
Okay.
We'll go with the 2 quotes first. So I enjoyed the quote. The box was a hurdle. The egg was a brick wall, from Johnny. That was
Nice.
I enjoyed that. Frederick, getting even better. Coughing candy is an experience that in itself will go viral.
Good one.
And finally, the best one of the 3 is just Tim's face when he was watching the egg decoration. Just so many expressions of what is going on.
That is true. I like that we have to have a very Tim-specific top moment every week now. I feel like you're detail-oriented, but also Tim-orientated.
Absolutely. He seems to be out facial expressioning Karen or Baroness Brady.
I'm sure we can speculate why that is. It is now time for that part of the show where James makes us all very anxious because it is our elevator pitches. But this week, I feel like there's no independent adjudicator. We are going to do the standard and creative thing of coming up with our own Easter eggs. Flavours, packaging, concept, whatever we can fit in 30 seconds. Have you come up with an idea yet, James?
No, I'm actually going to do it on the spot, so it might be rubbish.
A purist, I like that. I haven't come up with an idea either. I'm going to make you go first this week.
Okay.
Whether you want to or not, I've just decided. So I've got 30 seconds on the clock. Do you want to go straight into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, I'm going to be a bit boring. Standard egg shape, because that is important, but thick, really thick, nice milk chocolate. And what we're going to have inside the milk chocolate is like a sticky toffee pudding layer with oozing with like toffee and caramel. I guess, I don't know about the branding. Quite gold embossed lettering on a matte black box. Pretty premium there, going for the luxury.
That is time. I like that sticky toffee pudding, and I enjoyed your use of language with oozing and things. I was like, that's oozing. Very cooking show. Okay.
Right, your turn. We're going to go straight in. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Your 30 seconds starts now.
Okay, so this is my idea for an egg. It's kind of linked back to the fact that it's really grey outside at the moment and I want it to be summer, so mine's going to be kind of tropical. It's going to be a white chocolate, vanilla and coconut flavoured Easter egg. It's going to be a reasonably thick egg as well. It's going to be a luxury themed, but it's going to sort of be bright, sunny type packaging, some cream and yellow, something to shout sun, beach days, a summery flavour, and yeah, it's going to be for the luxury market. Maybe with some gold foil on the front too. Okay.
I actually have a suggestion. I liked that. Once you said coconut, I was thinking like you could do something like a pina colada egg or something.
Yes, that is a good idea. Maybe that's where I was going with like the beach days and stuff. I feel like it was inspired because when I went to France for a holiday, I had some ice cream, but it was using those Raffaello chocolates, like the Ferrero Rocher, but the white Ferrero Rochers, and they're kind of white chocolate coconutty flavour, and that was just the best ice cream. I could have eaten that all the time, so I associate that with sun now rather than Britain's rainy weather.
Very nice. Do you think though coconut might be quite a risky choice?
A bit divisive. Not
kind
many
of
people
Marmite,
like it,
isn't it? Yeah.
It is a bit, yeah. But again, matcha is Marmite, and if you say
true.
it's luxury, people will want to buy it. So
That's true. And I'm sure you could argue sticky toffee pudding's Marmite as well.
True. I think loads of people would buy that though. Doing sort of flavours based on desserts or sort of nostalgic things would do really, really well, I think. So
what about a rhubarb and custard egg?
Oh, a pink celery, do you mean?
Yes, a pink celery.
That would be good though, wouldn't it?
Well, one half of the egg is custard flavoured, one half of the egg is rhubarb, and then you like decide to combine it with... Why didn't I do this?
It's because you've had more time to think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. I think it was quite a good elevator pitch this week.
I think so. That's a good one. So as always, let us know in the comments on our Instagram at Back to the Boardroom on who you thought did the best elevator pitch, whether it was James's sticky toffee pudding egg or my white chocolate and coconut one. Let us know, and when we're getting to the end of Back to the Boardroom season 2, we'll count up all the votes and see who wins, and maybe we will get some chocolate for the winner.
Yeah, I think we need to decide on a prize, but that's for a later episode.
Okay. Now let's go back to the boardroom, where Lord Sugar this week tucks into the Easter eggs. I was actually quite surprised that he ate some of them. I swear he hasn't done that before.
No, I think that's something new, and I think it brings us back to what we've discussed before. I think there are tiny bits, tiny tweaks all throughout this season, and I think it's maybe they're testing things ready for that anniversary coming up next year.
That's true. We might be seeing some big changes in season 20. But this week we actually saw some big changes as well. Some unexpected things, unless you're reading the newspapers, that is that obviously Dr. Jana, right at the end, decided to say, I've had enough now. Everyone else here wants it more than me, so I'm off. Which we heard rumblings of this a few weeks ago we spoke about here on the podcast, and we didn't really know why it was happening. We did hear some speculation, but yeah, it wasn't as explosive as they made out in the press, which we should have known. But I thought it was a weird one, because just the way he phrased it was like, other people want this more than me, which kind of devalued the opportunity and made it seem like he thought, you know what, I'm bigger and better than this competition, which I didn't really like.
It was interesting. And for me also, what was interesting was that even after the results, Lord Sugar asked him again. He gave him a second chance to change his mind. I think he would have gone anyway, regardless. But quite interesting, the different sort of approach, I guess.
Yeah, it did seem like everybody was really shocked. Some of the other candidates tried to stop him going and thought it was a bit silly, and it seemed out of nowhere. And I do think Lord Sugar was kind of, I guess, would have liked him to have stayed in the process, because it's his show and his thing. And by checking, I thought that was quite a nice thing to do, really. But I think it already looked a bit silly by saying he was going, especially if it was because he thought the team was going to lose anyway. They edited it to make it look like that, at least, didn't they? When they said, oh yeah, we got 80,000 orders or something, and there was a cut to him looking a bit, concerned. So who knows? But that seems to be with the narrative they're going with.
Indeed, yes.
So let's take a look at some of those sales. So Tim shared that his team, they made 2 sales from 2 different retailers, and it was a total of 9,000 units. And then in comparison, Karen had 5 sales from 5 different retailers with a total of 89,750, which is a huge difference.
And they could have got 150,000.
Exactly. That was such a risky thing to do, turning down that exclusivity deal with Tesco. But then if you weigh it up the other way, if they were going to get offered a huge deal and they're given exclusivity, I think we've seen that a few times happen before with the exclusivity deals. So they probably thought, let's steer clear. But that was quite a bold move.
Yeah, definitely. But took some risk. Which when obviously as the viewer we kind of get a picture of how both sides are going, but obviously they're completely in the dark, so I can understand how it wouldn't be as easy a decision as we see.
Definitely. I think the boardroom was quite a fun one this time. As you said earlier, Lord Sugar was very funny throughout. He made some good jokes and he did try the chocolate. I just thought it was a bit of fun. And the whole mood was brought down by Dr. Jana just saying that he'll go. I wrote down that he said, I don't think it's a good step for me, which I don't know. I just feel like it's just a weird one. He kind of did sound like he was trying to rise above it, and then he also made it sound like he was giving the others a chance. Before we started the podcast today, I had on You're Fired with Tom, can't remember his surname now. Yeah, don't know why, it's gone out of my head. But Dr. Jana was on there again, and he reiterated saying that, I didn't want to take the place of another candidate who perhaps wanted the opportunity more than me, sort of blindly saying, well, if I'd stayed in, I might have got it, and that would have been unfair. So they painted it out to be sort of a noble thing to do, but I actually thought it was a bit silly.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I guess only he knows the reasons why he chose to do that. But there we go. Lord Sugar wished him well, and we move on. And bringing back to a point you said earlier, it did. I don't know why, but this week's boardroom did seem a lot more light-hearted, which was kind of pleasantly nice.
Yeah, I thought so. It was a bit different. It had a different vibe, and Lord Sugar did bring in the others back in, and I thought, really, is he going to send one of them away? I'm quite glad that he didn't, because I don't think any of them really deserved it. They were following the whole team's strategy, and they didn't set it. So I'm glad we get to see them do another task. They were getting a bit heated in the end, but I think it was the right decision. And Lord Sugar said that he'd lose all his credibility if he was to pick one of them.
Personally, if I had to choose someone, it would probably be someone from the egg design team, because I think overall, yes, the message was not great and not clear, but I got the impression, at least from the edit, that the look of the actual product was the main issue.
Yeah, that was the barrier, wasn't it? I guess the message could have been, if it was a good looking egg and the message still was about kindness, it would have gone down a lot better. But because you were trying to make a really positive message with a really negative looking egg, it didn't work.
Yeah. And obviously it wouldn't be the boardroom time without the secretary. And there is a different chart on the computer this time. Did you see it?
I try not to look at what's on that computer because I like being surprised by your level of detail.
Well, the secretary definitely had some sort of Gantt chart up. There was quite big timelines. I think there was a lot of long boxes that filled the whole screen, so not very segmented, that Gantt chart, but a Gantt chart nonetheless. So good work.
You requested that, I swear, a couple of weeks ago or last week. You wanted to see a different chart, and I think you mentioned a Gantt chart, so maybe she is listening.
Maybe.
But you weren't the only one watching with eagle-eyed eyes this week, because I noticed something that you love to point out, and that is a brand watch, which is where James sees where the BBC haven't covered up branding well enough during the shots. So I have one example. I don't think they could have covered it up, though. It was quite a large example.
Okay, I do also have one, but I'm going to let you go first because this is... Yeah,
I feel competitive now. I wanted to be the one to spot it. But when they were driving into the place where they were going to create their eggs, there was a massive sign outside the building, and it was big and bold saying Hotel Chocolat.
Yes.
Which,
yes. That wasn't actually going to be the one that I brought up, but it is quite obvious now, come to think of it. I, obviously, I like looking at the minute details. Yes. And it was Adobe Illustrator 2024 that they were using.
2024. I love that.
I did pause.
Hilarious. Okay, that's good. I feel like the computer programs, you're number one at seeing them on the screen.
Yeah, definitely. So nice to know they're using up-to-date software because I presume it was filmed last year. So.
Oh, that is true. I can't laugh at them that much then. Another thing that we have to do in this bit of the podcast is talk about the treat. And this week, it was a decadent luxury afternoon tea at a fancy Mayfair hotel. What did you make of it?
Getting better. I hope the trend doesn't carry on because it makes this segment quite boring. It was better than all of the others, so it's at the top of my list. So I did like the pasta, but I am very much partial to a nice afternoon tea, and I don't think I've had an afternoon tea as posh as the one that they had. So I'm not, there's this big trend about champagne or sparkling afternoon teas, and I'm not too fussed about the bubbly. I just like the tea firstly, and all the miniature cakes and sandwiches, but I'm rambling, so I will end there. Good treat. Bring on the next one. And now for my best part of the episode, the news with Greer.
It is time for Apprentice news. The first one is some breaking news that we just had to pause the recording of the podcast because James needed to complete his Duolingo German so he didn't lose his streak. So I said I'd call you out.
It's important. We record late after the show has aired, so it's nearing midnight. And I had been unprepared and not done my exercise of the day prior to recording. So yes, we had to have a short interlude.
Mini break. But on to the real Apprentice news. Now, obviously, there are loads of news stories out at the moment talking about why did Dr. Jana leave? Why did he quit? Was he right to say this? Or we've got an exclusive interview, and then you look at the interviews and they are not really saying anything new. So I am ignoring some of the tabloids, which I do at every other point in the year, except for when we do this podcast. And I've actually gone on to Dr. Jana's Instagram himself because, as you know, a lot of the candidates, they like to create their own content and put it out there around the episodes to really capitalise on growing their audiences for their business and their personal brands after The Apprentice. And something that Dr. Jana has been doing, especially for this week, because he's obviously realised that this is the one where he's going to get spoken about the most, is he has gone on to work with somebody to create the Easter egg again. So he has recreated Easter Ed, and is there in a very sort of cinematic looking video putting sprinkles on top of the egg, using paintbrushes to do a swoosh over the top. And he says in the caption, "This is how I wanted the egg to look. Do you think we lost because of the decorations? Where the egg tasted great, the sponsors couldn't get behind the look of it, or our ethos, which was in our advert but not on the back of the packaging? Vote below." So he's really going for it on his Instagram, but there are a lot of comments that are a bit not great, saying you would have been fired, but there you go. But interestingly, something I did also read about Dr. Jana is that he obviously he came across a bit like he had bigger, better things than The Apprentice, if there are any. And there is some word that he currently rents his premises off none other than Stephen Bartlett, who is another wealthy entrepreneur who is a dragon on Dragon's Den as well. where you may recognise him. And apparently, when he went back to wherever he rents out the rooms that he uses for his business, he saw Stephen Bartlett, told him about The Apprentice, and apparently Stephen would like to see his business plan. That could again just be him, trying to make a positive spin on everything. But what if he left The Apprentice to work instead, not with Lord Sugar, but with Stephen Bartlett?
Da, da, da. There'll be a fight among the BBC corridors.
There would be, exactly. But I just thought that was interesting. Who knows if that's actually true, but interesting link between the two of them. And I can actually see Stephen Bartlett being an Apprentice type figure like Lord Sugar. Not that anyone replaces Lord Sugar, but I can see Stephen possibly moving in on that TV territory.
I don't know, not to be rude or anything, but I think they're both very successful, but I think Lord Sugar's more scary than Stephen Bartlett.
Oh, definitely.
So I don't think he could fill the shoes of Lord Sugar in The Apprentice.
No, it would be a different vibe, I think. And just one last bit of news. It is about a very scary person linked to The Apprentice. I just thought I'd bring up that this weekend it's the Academy Awards, and there is a film called The Apprentice that has been nominated for Best Picture, and that is with Sebastian Stan playing the President of the United States, the very scary Donald Trump, which very different type of apprentice from the one that we watch, but who knows? Maybe that means we'll get a few extra hits on Back to the Boardroom this week if people are searching for The Apprentice. That could be a good thing that comes out of the situation.
I could say wunderbar.
Yes.
Given that I've just practiced my German.
Exactly. Well, there you go. There's a little roundup of the news this week.
Fantastic. Now we move on to Where Are They Now? Looking back at last year's candidates in order of where they when they were fired. So week 5, Onyeka, if you remember, was fired. As usual, I've been looking through Instagram to see what they have been up to, and I can tell you Onyeka has been on a holiday somewhere nice and warm looking in the winter months, because the caption said winter holiday or something. Done a talk at some data science conference in Nottingham, which is pretty cool, and also started a new business, which is quite interesting. So it's called Unicorn, spelled Unikorrn, and apparently it's the tagline is your secure meeting management hero. So it's an AI-powered risk and compliance agent that does things in meetings, like gives you AI-driven meeting agendas and real-time risk analysis, analytics even, which seems quite on trend at the moment with all the AI stuff and virtual meetings. So, yes, interesting.
Hopefully that business goes pretty well for her. It is the year of AI on The Apprentice. We knew it going into this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually that was mid 2024, so it's probably grown even more since then.
Nice. Always good to hear what the other candidates have been up to in the year just gone. And it sounds like a lot of them are still pursuing business ideas, but maybe they're brand new ones.
Indeed. We're shaking it up this week, so I'm going to say bye. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can check us out on Instagram at Back to the Boardroom and get in touch. Next week, we are off to Turkey. Not us, unfortunately, the contestants, for what it looks like to be the corporate away day task. So I'm sure there will be a lot of fun and games there, and hopefully, unlike previous years, they won't run out of water. But there we go. Do you have a final thought for us, Greer?
Other than this part of the podcast comes with so much pressure, I was thinking, if the Easter Bunny is so outdated, do you think that means there's going to be a rebrand on Santa now, and we're going to have to come up with a new character for Christmas time as well?
Who knows?
See you later. Next week.